On this week's episode of the Investors Corner, we welcome back Peter Licourinos, one of our resident guests, head of HMO Premier. So, Peter's going to reflect on 2024 and his predictions that he had for the market, as well as look forward to 2025 and talk about the amazing results he's had with his clients, including a spend of over £10 million on property that has gone into the care sector and HMO sector. So, without further ado, let's have a chat with Peter Licourinos.
Hello everyone and welcome to the Investors Corner, where this week we are joined with our special resident HMO and property investing expert, Peter Licourinos. How are we, Pete?
I'm amazing. It's good to be back, boys. It does feel, I was just saying, it feels like a while since I've been here.
Yeah.
Is it a few months?
Maybe longer, yeah. And we were talking off camera about some of your big forecasts for this year, that it turns out you've got pretty much all of them right. So we're going to cover that in this podcast.
Looking forward to it.
I'm sure
looking forward to it.
How are you, Mike?
All good, thank you. Yeah, now we know where we are and what we're doing.
Yes.
We're here for it.
Always good to know. I've not been on the show for a couple of weeks actually myself. It's just been you and Andy. Yeah.
Holding the fort. We did all right, I think.
Yeah, I've seen a couple of the clips. They looked okay.
Thanks.
Busy 4 months in the property market. It's been a lot of change.
Yeah, we were just talking just before we went on. We've had our Rightmove stats through for November, which, as an agency, we've sold 129% of what we've listed in November, which just goes to show you have a car crash of a budget for business, but people are just absolutely ploughing money into property, whether that be first-time buyers, chain movers, everyone from top to bottom, really.
I think if you're an outsider trying to understand what's going in the property market, it's very difficult because if I look at the average high street estate agent, I would say property prices have come down a little bit because they're having to price more realistically, but not realistically, because people like you guys are actually valuing realistically, so you're selling for the asking price. And I think there's good buyers out there for the right price property. I think where I've had a lot of opportunity this year is in the properties that aren't straightforward or aren't in good condition or don't necessarily appeal to the average first or second time buyer.
Yeah.
But I've seen you've had a lot of success in your sale rate, and I guess that's why.
I think that's like a normal market as well. You know, like normal markets where we're kind of just, the prices are either gradually changing up and down area to area. And they're like the random ones that either needed a load of work doing to them, or there's something
funny
like
layouts.
They're the ones that appeal to the investor because they can strike a deal and fix it. And it feels like that's over the last sort of 20 odd years that I've been in the game. That's like quite the normal. We actually like that. It's like a bit of normality.
You need serious access to trades now.
Yeah.
If you're going to do that kind of work, because it is mind-blowingly expensive as a kind of retail buyer to have trades come in and do serious work to your house.
I think that's probably been HMO Premier, if I'm talking about that business, that's probably been our biggest success over the last 10 years. I remember 10 years ago, probably some of the most stressful times I ever had because I was trying to work and build a build team, and so many people let you down. People overprice, people underdeliver, people don't come in after weekends. A lot of tradespeople live for weekends, not all of them. But I've managed to build an incredible build team now that have been with me for 7 years, and we can do work that other people can't do. If we come across underpinning or any issue with a property, we can solve that and solve it for a good price. So it's a great opportunity to get the property for the right price. But it also means we can deliver 5 months worth of work in 3 months.
Yeah.
So we can save the investor money, and it just means our final product is incredible. But I would definitely say have an incredible build team close to you.
It's that power team, isn't it? For an investor, for a landlord, or anyone in like adult life, really, having like those like key contacts around you is so important. So for your investors, then, just to kind of summarise what you said there. So they say, right, we've got some money we want to invest, and I know people will have listened to this before, but we'll kind of cover it again just to be sure. So they come and speak to you. They've got some good chunk of money they want to invest. They're looking at a long-term plan. Do you then advise them on the type of property to source? Do they have an involvement in the sourcing, or do you take care of those needs first and foremost?
Good question. I think every investor has a different need or a different goal at the beginning. So they go through a discovery call when they register with us via social media or the website with our team. Once they've gone through a discovery call, they'll then be booked in for a Zoom meeting or face-to-face meeting with myself. We then discuss what they want to achieve, how much they've got to invest, why they're investing, and then I will analyse where we can work together, how we can achieve what they want to, whether it's realistic, whether I want to work with them, to be honest, and whether I think they're going to want to work with us. We're then booking a tour day, which is one of my favourite things, where we meet, an investor will spend a day with me, come in my car, visit 5 or 6 developments at different stages. We've usually got probably about 8 developments on the go at one time. We'll visit at least 5 or 6 of those at different stages of development, perhaps a couple we've just started, a couple that are halfway through, some smaller ones, some bigger ones, and some that have just been furnished so they can see the final product. I love that. Once we've done that, if we're going to work together, that's when we sort of decide at the end, let's work together. I like to work with investors that have got a long-term plan. I think investing in property is get rich over time, not get rich quick.
It's the only way, isn't it, now?
Absolutely.
It really is now.
And if they're serious, and I think we could be working together, like you met Richard on the podcast, we've worked together for 12 years. Dr. Chai worked together for 8 years, Samir 6 years. A lot of my investors now have worked with us for a long period of time, and I love that. And a lot of them have become friends. And at that stage where we decide we are going to work together, I'll introduce them to my financial team. Gerardo, Ian, we worked together
a long time.
For 20 years ago. We started working together, and you know Gerardo. I've worked with him 14 years, and he gives really honest, good advice, and there's some great people out there, but we work with Gerardo. We've got a great legal team now that understand and specialise in property investment and HMOs. We've got an incredible build team that understand how to get the various discounts on that and other areas to maximise the return on the development costs. And their product is incredible. And we've got a department now that just furnishes investments and HMOs. So investors can pick and mix our services, but they tend to, most of them that have large amounts of money to invest in success, sit back and let us do everything from sourcing the property. We work with great agents like yourselves, direct to vendors, and we get below market value deals. Now, when I say below market value, I'm honest. It's probably 4, 5, 6% below market value
As a sort of average.
as an average.
Yeah.
Anyone that says 15 to 20% are just clearly lying. But we're realistic, and what we do is we offer the seller a quick solution, a reliable solution. We're known for not pulling out of deals. If we offer, we get a deal agreed, then we move forward with it. So a seller is more open to a slightly lower offer because of that, but it's still realistic. And a lot of the properties we buy, we were talking about before the podcast, there's issues with them. We've just done one with subsidence. They need refurbishment. There's some sort of issue, and I love that. If there's a problem, we can solve it. So we can jump in and get the property at a better price. We're obviously buying properties in really good locations where the long-term capital appreciation will be high. And we're looking for properties where we can actually add value. So if you put the maths together behind what I've just said, if we do buy 5% below market value, if we can add 5 to 10% immediate value in the home, there's 15% up to 15% immediate capital forced in that property, which gives an investor great insurance if the market changes. It means they can take money out of the property later on if they want to. And these properties are turned into luxury HMOs, the majority of them, or care homes or social housing. So the returns rental-wise are incredible as well. And
That's the big thing for me at the moment that I think for the investors out there is that monthly cash flow, where it used to be very much people focused on the equity growth.
Yeah.
But to make the monthly cash flow work and your end of year self-assessment as a landlord now, it really needs the cash flow monthly to work, or otherwise it's really difficult to actually look at this like long-term pension planning nest egg if it's not doing significant monthly returns. I don't know what you think on that, Mike, because that's the thing for me, that HMOs are just in a different league to any other investment when it comes to that monthly cash flow, aren't they?
Yeah, given the tax situation for an individual landlord with a 2-bedroom flat that they own in their own personal name, if you've got a mortgage on it, you do really well to make a profit out of it, really well. And then in 10 years' time, when you have to change the kitchen and the bathroom, all of that profit is deleted effectively. So you're reliant on that being a long-term capital appreciation, which you'll get if you buy right. No doubt. You can see £100,000 increase over a long period of time, which is great. But it depends what you're in it for.
Yeah. It's funny you talk about the rental. Do you know where the biggest part of HMO Premier's growth is in 2024? And I believe it will be in 2025 and 2026. We've got a good waiting list of good investors that want to invest long term and want to build a portfolio. And I love doing discovery calls and tour days with these sorts of people. They're successful in their own right. It's interesting. I love it. So anyone listening that wants to do that, please do get in touch with us. But where the biggest growth for the business has been is landlords and investors across Berkshire and Surrey with single lets, whether they have one or two, or portfolios, and they have 3 beds that are renting for £1,500 that we're turning into 5-bed HMOs, and we're getting up to £4,000 income a month. 4, 5 and 6 beds that we're renting for up to £2,500 a month, that we're turning into luxury HMOs that are getting almost treble that in some occasions, some of them up to £7,000 a month for the biggest models. And I think that's a trend that's going to grow. People who are letting out houses to single families that just, because of the tax reasons, because of inflation, because of all the other challenges that landlords are facing, they're just not making any money anymore. But they don't understand how it's not simple. But when they come to somewhere like us, we make it simple, where we can get the HMO license for them. We can redesign the house. They can have just as good quality tenants in the house, just more, but not more people. Because if you've got 2 adult, 3 children household in a property, and we're effectively putting 5 or 6 professionals in there, there's no more wear and tear. I think investors think there will be, but we're literally trebling, quadrupling properties. I've got an investor, and you might actually remember her, Ian. Her name is Kinder Lally, incredible woman, and she was an investor with me about 15 years ago. And she contacted me about 1.5 years ago, and she said she wanted me to go out and do a portfolio review of her Bracknell, Reading and Wokingham properties, which we did. We've just finished Whitley Wood Road, and that was rented out by Kinder for 3 years at £1,800 a month. We've converted that into a luxury 6-bedroom HMO, and she's getting almost £6,000 income a month now. Now, her costs haven't gone up. That's the amazing thing. Her costs haven't gone up massively, perhaps a couple of £100 a month on utilities. But her income and her profit has literally skyrocketed. Yes. And that's how simple it is for landlords. I just don't think they've had the education to understand how easy it is to do that.
Yeah, it makes a massive difference when you're talking those numbers. What sort of cash would a landlord expect to have to put in on the building works to kind of go from an 1,800 a month kind of property to a 6-bed at kind of £6,000?
Good question. It depends on the condition of the property. If there's a beautiful family kitchen in there, we can utilise that. We don't need to do it again. But to change the property, to make it meet HMO regulations, to get the luxury type of rooms, on Whitley Wood Road, we spent 105,000. Okay, but the value of that property was 375 at the time. It was worn out. We just had it revalued at 600. So the money you're putting in, you're actually going to get back out if you're smart about it, because you're going to add the value to the house. Yeah. And we never overdevelop a property. We redevelop it into a HMO, but we also think about it as a family home from a remortgage or a resale point of view at a later stage. So we're quite smart with how we do it. We don't do 6 beds, 6 baths.
I think that's
it's quite
smart. People's thought on it is a lot of HMOs are just wildly overdeveloped, and then when the investor tries to get out, they think it's worth a kind of yield-based value, and the best buyers quite often are going to be family buyers because they're going to buy for a reason rather than investment, and an investor's not going to pay a yield-based value anyway. So you've got to be really careful when you're doing that development not to just bang these huge dormers on and huge side extensions, rear extensions, and convert the garages and do everything to it.
I've seen a lot of those. You've seen a lot of those. When you overdevelop a property,
they're like, I want 750 for it. You're like, well, next door's worth 400. So where are we? Where are we at? Well, someone through HMO will buy it. No, they'll buy the 400 one.
And do it themselves in a better way. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's really important, not to overdevelop the property.
Is to make it stay kind of in keeping with the street, I guess.
And the neighbours love that as well, by the way.
Yeah.
The neighbours don't want to see this huge house. Yeah. We won't do 3 or 4 properties in 2 roads, one road. You know, we want to get on with the neighbours. And the councils love us because in God knows how many years they've never had a problem with us. And we talk to the neighbours tend to be happy. We look after the properties. We manage the tenants on a WhatsApp group and on every property. So we're in communication with tenants daily. So if there's a little problem, we nip it in the bud. If they have an issue, they can contact us and we can deal with it efficiently. And that's the key. So smaller problems don't become big problems, but we're buying property at good prices. Interest rates are around sort of 5. They're around 8 for HMOs in 2009. So the interest rates are good. We're as I said at the beginning of the podcast, we're clever. We're forcing a little bit of value because we're getting below market value properties. We're adding a bit of value. So they've got that instant security. The returns are massive, as we know, income and profit wise, and that's only growing. These rooms that we're creating are only becoming more and more popular. And I genuinely believe people would rather rent our rooms and become part of our households and rent 1-bed apartments, some 2-bed apartments. So the investors we're talking to are really excited about next year. I think we'll see more growth next year in line with inflation than we have this year. So I think there's an opportunity at the moment to continue buying properties at good prices. I think there'd be a small wobble around the end of Q1, Q2 with the change with mindset and first-time buyers. So I think there's be some more opportunities for investors to pick up.
Well, I think there's a bigger thing at play in the economy. I think this Christmas there will be the biggest single gifting spree from the grey-haired generation to the first-time buyer generation than we will ever see in our lives with the change to inheritance tax.
I agree.
Parents are just going to be throwing money at their kids, and the first thing their kids are going to do is spend it on property, regardless of stamp duty, this, that, and the other, which will balance things out. That's my
I hope you're
wild prediction for 2025 is there's going to be more money spent on property than ever.
I hope you're right, and it will balance things. But for example, if you're my parents' generation, they don't understand money. I'm a bit older than you guys, but my parents' generation don't understand money. They still think, you can go out for dinner for 50 quid. They still think you can go down the pub and spend a tenner, have a burger and 5 clothes. One of my funny memories of my dad was it was 2019 at Christmas. He gave me, Simon and Claire, a hug on Christmas Day, and he just put a tenner in our pockets, and he just said, "Go out and have a good time." And just lose with me. I think some generations they don't understand the value of money anymore. So I think you're right with the younger generation. I hope they do. It's a good way to utilise their savings and leverage their assets. So I hope you're right.
But we're about to see a huge glut of 30 to 35-year-olds in the next 5 years. There's going to be a big spike in population of 30 to 35-year-olds. And what do 30 to 35-year-olds do? They get married, have a kid, buy a house. That's my opinion on it, and that's why I think... And then get divorced, and have to buy another house. So they have 2 houses between them. That's what blocks the housing market now, because you've got so many single occupants doing it. I just think, whereas 70 and 80-year-olds probably don't understand money, they understand pensions, and they understand that side of things, and the pensions has just come into their inheritance tax. New generation.
It's the right advice to be putting your assets in a trust, and then talking to your families and preparing your families to take over those assets and utilise them for their own lives and generations down.
It's passing your wealth within lifetime rather than after.
Yeah.
It becomes a big opportunity because it takes it out of your scope for inheritance tax, and it means it's usable whilst your kids are reasonably young, rather than inheriting at 55, 60, when people generally, I'm going to generalise here, don't need to inherit money at 55 and 60. Like, you can't change your life at that point. Like, if you're waiting for an inheritance at 55, 60,
You messed
sorry, they messed it up.
Right, yeah. Or you've just been planning your whole life around.
Well, yeah, maybe. Yeah, just did nothing and just chilled. Yeah.
Then you have to check the post-mortem on what happened. It's a different situation. It's a different movie on Netflix.
Even the amount of times I buy probate properties, and you're dealing with a family who just, they didn't plan at all for it to happen. They have got no idea what to do with that house. It's mad.
There is advice for that situation, because that is going to become, based on the fact that 78% at the end of 2023, this was, so it's a year out of date, it'll be a slightly different percentage now, has got the property wealth in the 60 to 80. This is going to happen over the next 10 to 20 years, and it is going to impact the market, because over 2/3 of cash equity in property is in that generation. What were your, moving away from estate planning and forecasting too far?
Rural experts.
Let's go back to the next 12 months. You made some quite strong kind of predictions on the podcast, which is great to see. But how did they come around to, at the end of 2024, realisation? How are we looking?
I think I'm rarely wrong in property, because it's all I'm good at. it's what I'm very good at.
24 hours a day. That is you.
Absolutely. 26 years, 24 hours a day. And I think I saw the market for what it was. I think I looked at 2024 and I thought, if you've got a good property that is almost ready for someone to move in, motivated couple, first-time buyers are going to buy it, and I think well-priced stock will sell quickly, and it did. But I did also throw the curveball in and said I'd be buying properties 10 to 15% below market value. And I know you guys didn't judge because you believe in me, but a lot of people did. So I bought some numbers, and I want to talk through them because they're actually realistic numbers. So we've purchased about £11 million worth of residential property this year. It's been a good year. That's luxury HMOs, social houses, care homes, and a couple of smaller developments, based on the average sort of purchase price of 395 to 400. So I know you guys know Bracknell well. So I'm going to talk about some Bracknell investments. Jackson's Close. Now, we actually bought this for avocado. You guys contacted me. You said, look, we've got a buyer that wants to sell quickly, no hassle. And we negotiated a really good price, and we bought a 3-bed house in Jackson Close for 247. We just had that valued at 450.
It's after the refurb.
After the refurb.
Just to clarify it for anyone that's listening.
But when we were going, this is funny, when we were going through the survey, I remember calling Sanjay and going, mate, we've got an issue. And he was like, Pete, that can't have been down valued. I said, no, it was up valued. The surveyor valued it at 340.
Oh, really? Jeez.
But we've just revalued at 450, and we rent it out, and we get over £3,000 a month for that property. One in Downshire Way, town centre, was on for 700. We bought at 620. We've just had it revalued at 850. That brings in a monthly income of over £6,000. Incredible yield. Lambourne Terrace, just opposite Running Horse. We got a 3-bed, 316,000. We bought that for. We've just turned that into a 5-bed, 4-bath. 5-bed, 4-bath. It's amazing how many bathrooms and bedrooms we can fit in these houses. Just had it revalued at 450,000. It rents for almost £4,000 a month. To one of my regular investors. One in Wroxham, Great Hollands. I love Wroxham and I love Great Hollands. Great for social housing and also some professional HMO lets as well. We bought that 4-bed end of terrace for 302,000. All of these are between 15 and 20% below market value. And that will rent. We're in developing at the moment for almost £4,000 a month. So the deals are out there and you can get big discounts. I mean, we look daily, we talk to agents daily, we work extremely hard. We view up to 20 houses a week. It used to be up to 40 houses, but there's less properties on the market, which means we have to work even harder. And there are good buyers for the right properties, so we have to work smart. So sourcing a property isn't easy anymore. It's really difficult, and you have to act quickly. But the good deals are out there. We've been buying 15 to 20% below market value, and our investors are getting incredible returns.
I think it's for the people that want to do stuff like what you're talking about there, and for the landlords, even if it's not HMOs, but it's just a good solid property investment. The difference of having a relationship with a good estate agent or a good buying agent and service provider like what you guys do is so important, because these deals are not being done from a right move inquiry. These deals are being done prior, and that's what I kind of always try and make sure people that are listening to this podcast or watching this podcast speak to us, speak to Pete, speak to us. Let's talk about the beginning part of the process that you said, the exploration call. What is it you're trying to do? What is it that you want? What is it that you can spend? And then allow us to try and help you on that basis. And if we're doing that off market or pre-portals or whatever it may be, it's a lot easier for you. It makes no difference to us because we'll sell the house anyway.
Yeah.
But for you, it's a lot easier, and it's not anything untoward. It's just
Absolutely.
get the call first. If we know who you are, if we don't know who you are, you're not getting the call.
And it's to be trusted as well.
Yeah.
Like you said, you're known for not pulling out of a deal once a handshake's been done. And some of those deals, you've just listed a load of addresses in Bracknell, and the reason you've listed a load of addresses in Bracknell is because you're from Bracknell, you've worked Bracknell, you know every street in Bracknell. So if you get the call from an agent saying, Pete, I've got this house and the seller needs a completion in 28 days, so you need to go, no searches, no research, this, that and the other, you're in a position where you can just do it because you know the bones of everything.
Our team will speak to agents across Bracknell, Wokingham, Reading, Camberley, Farnham, Winnersh, Wokingham, literally every single day, and they're whittled down the right properties, and I will actually go and view them myself, and the agents respect that. But I'm actually going out with my build teams viewing these properties myself, and you have to respect the agent because they work so hard, the good ones, and you have to respect the seller. And you really have to, people putting in stupid offers for sellers, it's not acceptable in my opinion. You've got to come up with a win-win.
Yeah.
And then the seller's more likely to say, do you know what? We'll take your advice. They sound like a good buyer. We'll take a little bit less than we wanted to, and everyone's happy. So I think sourcing is an art. It's not a case of just going and offering 20% below on 10 properties, because you'll just upset people.
You never get a call again.
Never.
That's how not to get a call.
Yeah, absolutely. And you'll just be deleted.
Yeah, we've all been there.
Fair point. What advice would you give to people that are looking to invest in property in 2025? Is there any kind of quick tips that you would give people?
Definitely speak to me. Sound of that one. Speak to my team. I just think speak to experts. I think it's if you're new to investing, it can be a scary place. The fact is, if I look across our team, which is absolutely huge in our network, and the reliable builders that we have, the planners, the architects that we work with, our management team, our tradespeople, the way we apply for a license, we've never been rejected for a HMO license. The relationship we have with local councils, it's taken years and years to build and get that trust. So definitely work with the best, work with experts, do your research. Don't wait. Now is the time to invest. No doubt about it. Now is the time to buy properties. And if you have got a portfolio and it's not working for you, let us come round and let us tell you how we can literally quadruple the income you're getting for that property. If it's a 2, 3, 4 bedroom property, we can make that work. We can turn that into a much higher yielding, a much more profitable investment. So don't wait, don't sit on the fence, get out there, take action, talk to people, and just do it. That's all the advice I could probably say in 10 seconds.
That is a great point, I think, for people that are landlords that do have a 3-bed end or a 2-bed end, or even the people that are about to inherit the family small 4-bed detached or 3-bed semi. It doesn't work probably for the estate to just go and split a single family home rental of 1,500 quid, 1,800 quid. It doesn't make a significant difference to 3 siblings, for example. You know, they're going to get a couple of £100 each a month. But actually, the thought of not selling and potentially looking at it as an investment and turning it into a 6-bed where it still sees as a family home, it doesn't upset the neighbours, it improves the quality of the home, but they're all getting a couple of grand a month each. That might be an opportunity that people need to kind of review and think about. So yeah, great tips. Great to have you on as always. Looking forward to probably Q1, Q2, seeing what happens around a stamp duty kind of threshold, see what impact that has on the market. But at the moment, people are buying, people are selling. Transactions are going to sit just under 1.2 million this year. Inflation and kind of the rates of mortgages, everything's a bit normal at the moment, which means people can just...
It's been a good year.
Yeah.
It's been a good year.
They can do what they want to do and achieve what they want to achieve at the moment in the market. And that's great for everyone involved. So hopefully that carries on. Thank you, Pete, for joining us.
My pleasure. Thank you, lads.